Joining us now is special guest Alex Felix as the executive director of United for East Palestine, an organization promoting independent testing outside the purview of the EPA following the Norfolk Southern rail catastrophe and coordinating relief efforts to bring supplies to the impacted areas. Welcome to the show, Alex. I appreciate you being on.
Hi, Jimmy. It's great to be on. I'm a fan of the show.
So tell me you're in East Palestine, you live there, and now you've formed an organization, United for East Palestine. Tell me about how that came about and what you're doing.
Okay, so the people who actually the organization was founded from a Facebook group that was created by Jenna Giannis and Emily Musacchia, who are both area residents. I actually live in Las Vegas. I kind of joined up with them because I reached out. I'm part of the Railroad Workers United Solidarity sort of members, so I get their newsletters. So I reached out to them because I found out about this early on, and I have experience with like trying to set up mutual aid networks and things like that. So I reached out to them because I was like, I felt like maybe it would be necessary to get people out and to try and get resources in. So I reached out on the Facebook group, and from there we kind of just became a team, and we have since partnered with some amazing people. Professor Welton from Purdue University, who has been on national news and local news and has done amazing things to move forward the conversation and force the EPA to require testing for dioxins. They're actually doing the tests that the EPA is not doing to on people in people's well waters and groundwaters. We've partnered with Professor Dr. Beatrice Galam, University of California, San Diego, who was one of the major medical researchers who looked into the Gulf War illness back during the Gulf War, which was a toxic chemical injury that was caused by the United States government to U.S. Marines and soldiers because of a medication they were taking. So, and she has partnered with our organization as well to look into the medical side of what these toxic chemicals are doing. But the first thing we have to do is figure out what exactly these chemicals were and what people were being exposed to in the first place. And that's what Professor Welton of Purdue is doing, as well as a few other organizations. And what we're trying to do is try and keep everybody working together and talking so that as we move things forward, we can make sure that everybody is able to help each other in terms of holding people accountable and finding out what's actually going on.
And so the two founders, tell me their names again, the founders of the United for East Palestine?
Jenna Giannis and Emily Musacchia.
And what's the second one?
Emily Musacchia.
Emily Musacchia? Did I say it close?
I think that's close.
Okay, good.
I actually never heard her say her last name.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
And so they couldn't be with us today because they're working. I guess they couldn't get off. And so we're glad that you made yourself available. And so so you're working with people, you're trying to get some actual unbiased studies to tell people how they've been poisoned and what they've been poisoned with, right? So that's what we're trying to get, because you can't trust the EPA. Is that what you're saying?
The EPA has been their sole purpose in this entire event seems to have been directly running cover for Norfolk Southern, which is ironic because that's literally the opposite of what they were formed to do. The EPA is supposed to do the exact opposite of what it's currently doing, which is running cover. We know that they've known about dioxins the entire time, and they held off and tried to avoid any mention of it in the news or testing for it until Professor Welton went on Twitter and showed that he was the one who was actually testing for it. Literally the 2 days after he did that, they finally released a statement saying they would require Norfolk Southern to do the testing. They have the capacity to do it, but they have not been doing it. They haven't done any real science to find out what chemicals were released in the first place. And obviously they know that. They're the EPA. They have the most advanced medical and scientific chemical analysis instruments that are available in the industrialized world, and they are intentionally not using it because they don't want to know. They don't want to know what chemicals and poison people are being exposed to, because that way they can obfuscate and tell people that it's safe. They know it's not safe. They know people shouldn't be there. But as long as those tests aren't done, and as long as nobody knows what's in them, because those tests are very expensive and require speciality, they can continue the ruse of saying everything's okay, which is why people aren't being evacuated. They should be getting their job should be getting people evacuated. Their job should be doing all the science necessary to find out exactly what went into the water, exactly what was in the soil, and exactly how far it spread, and getting everybody out of harm's way. They're doing the exact opposite.
Well, that's not shocking at all, because that's what the EPA does. They lied about the air quality after 9/11. Nobody got in trouble. Nobody got prosecuted. I think who was the, I'll think of the EPA head at that time. I think it was Whitmer. But yeah, that's what they do. So you're onto that. And so you all are joining. How many people are part of this organization besides yourself and the two founders? And then now you have two scientists helping you out.
Oh, actually, we've grown pretty, sizable. We have Aaron Bragg, who has recently done an interview with Status Quo, and he's been sort of the on-the-ground guy in terms of getting the word out about dioxins and helping Professor Welton get into people's homes and do the testing necessary.
And so
we've also.
So let me ask you about that dioxin. So that's the major poisonous chemical that you're experiencing in East Palestine.
Okay, so dioxins are a group of chemicals, and they are one of the first things that we found out we should be worried about, because they last forever. Like 2 billion years is how long they are said to last. They build up in the body. So if you're exposed to any throughout your life, it stays in your body and it builds up and concentrates. It's measured in parts per trillion. So if you get more than 50 nanograms or pictograms, one of the two, of whatever the trillionth gram is, if you get more than that exposure in your lifetime, that's considered above the safe level. And what we're talking about is, we already know that in the soil, we know there's parts per billion. So there's already 1,000 times more
concentrated
dose of dioxins in the soil and dirt around East Palestine than people should ever be exposed to.
And so, well, that's good. I know you just formed this organization and you're just starting. So I look forward to some good work coming from you. I just wanted to show you this. This is in the news right now. It says pro-Moscow voices tried to steer Ohio train disaster debate. So now if you talk about this, they're going to say you're doing Russian propaganda. That's what the next thing to happen to you is, Alex, is you're going to be called a Russian propagandist or a dupe of Putin. You know that's coming, right?
Yeah, saw that. And all I'll say is I think it's bold of them to call Aaron Brockovich a Russian plant.
They called the president of the United States that for 4 straight years, buddy.
That's true. All I'll say is the only thing we can do is we have professors from Purdue University. We have one of the most respected medical researchers in the United States, who works in Beatrice Galam. So we're built. We have the only way we can't. I'm not going to try to combat any sort of corporate media narrative, because we all know that their goal is just to run PR for the government and corporations. So the only thing that we can do is get as many people who have a platform and who have any sort of standing, whether it's be in academia or journalism or whatever, get anybody who wants willing to talk to us and listen, and just put the information out there and let people decide for themselves.
Here's more from the AP's Twitter feed. AP says pro-Moscow Twitter accounts tried to steer America's online conversation about last month's train derailment in Ohio. The accounts posted misleading claims and anti-U.S. propaganda. Oh, so you're going to be, this is coming, you're anti-U.S., love it or leave it, baby. Anti-U.S. propaganda designed to spread fear about the toxic spill and mock the U.S. response, says the AP News. And you tell me why I have over 1 million subscribers. It's because the AP sucks. It's because the corporate media is just that bad. They'll literally do a story like that, blaming our own country poisoning people on another country. In fact, they're telling you the poisoning's not even happening. It's all propaganda from Russia. That's what the AP is telling you. Now you know why that the corporate media has lower ratings than politicians. Okay.
Hey, maybe just put a Ukraine flag on your tweets about this from now on.
Yeah, put a Ukraine flag on your tweets. So that's That's amazing. That I'm gobsmacked by that. I did not see that coming. But they'll stop at nothing.
Pro-Moscow voices.
And so what this is that the United States, just like when they lost to Donald Trump, they didn't want to take responsibility for it. They didn't want to take responsibility for losing the presidency to a game show host. So they blamed Russia, and then it just became easy to do for every problem. Russia, 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 Russia. And here they're doing it again. There was nothing wrong with East Palestine. Joe Biden and Pete Buttigieg are fixing everything. That's just Russian propaganda. There's no poison. Everybody's happy. Does that make you like, I don't know, what does it do to you, Alex?
I can only hope that it's the point where people start seeing that it's jumped the shark. I mean, it's all like the whole Russia thing has always been a way for them to cover for their own incompetence. But I can only hope that this might be something people just see it as obviously ridiculous, because I mean, it's been reported out. Like they're not disputing the science. They just got one guy who didn't contact any of the pro-Russia, pro-Moscow sources he supposedly saying are propagating this information. He quoted a think tank, I think, in Britain.
Well, here's where it comes from. I'll show you. Here's where it comes from. The AP is saying that the concern about the train derailment in East Palestine and the shitty governmental response is being fueled by Russia. That's not from the AP investigation. It comes from a little nonprofit in London called Reset, who I bet if you look into it is being funded by the government and the intelligence community somewhere, or a billionaire somewhere. So they didn't do an investigation. This doesn't come from AP. They got it from some group nobody ever heard of called Reset, and it's probably and the article doesn't say that until paragraph 6. And so then Glenn Greenwald caught this, and he says the Shady Group uncritically relied on by the AP to malign concerns over East Palestine as emanating from pro-Moscow accounts is funded by Pierre Omidyar. Oh, the pro-Syria war, pro-war Ukraine war, pro-liar billionaire who owns The Intercept and pieces of shit like Ryan Grimm, who always lie to you about everything. That's who's funding this. The fake disinformation and Russia tracking industry created after 2016 is overwhelmingly funded by them. So every fake organization who's like fact checkers or tracking Russia, they're all funded by this guy Pierre Omidyar, who owns The Intercept, which is why Glenn can't work there anymore, because he wanted to tell the truth about the Democratic Party, and they wouldn't let him. Pierre. And so there it is. So that's fantastic.
I think him paying to have this happen counts under the giving pledge.
Yeah. Well, listen, Alex, it's really outrageous what's been going on, and we what did I miss? Is there anything else you want to tell people?
The only thing I just hope that we can get out to your audience is just that we have the capacity right now to change things. We always do. Every single train that derails because of negligence. Railroads are objectively, by every standard, the safest and most efficient inherent way for the transportation of people and materials that's ever been invented, at least since the Industrial Revolution, right? So we're 1,000 trains are going off the track every single day. These chemicals have been sprayed as far as Ontario, Canada. We have high split data showing that this is not an East Palestine thing. This covered the entire Northeast, and this is a felony. This is poisoning. The people in Norfolk Southern should be investigated, not just for like being sued. There should be people being indicted for criminal charges. Poisoning is a felony. Conspiracy to cover up a mass poisoning is also a felony. Anywhere else, this would be a war crime. These are gases that are registered as a war crime if they were to do this to one nation to another, or one nation to a people. And Norfolk Southern just gassed millions of people across the Northeast. The United States government is running cover for them, and what they want to do is to make all this story go away. They want it to disappear. They want the camera crews to go away, which most of them already have. They want people to forget about the story so they can quietly continue with their cover up, gaslight the people who are being exposed to these toxic chemicals, that nothing's wrong until they start getting sick, and the cancers and all the other stuff, autoimmune disorders start popping up, and they'll still say nothing's wrong. until 20 years down the line, when maybe Jon Stewart shows up in Congress asking why they can't get Medicare. By then, it's too late. We need right now as many people who we possibly can have who have any sort of profile in public or any sort of outreach to come together to come to East Palestine, or we can actually get a Zoom call, community meeting, or we can get people who live in East Palestine and all the other surrounding areas, anybody who wants to participate in trying to come together around this, whether it's railroad workers unions like Railroad Workers United, or any other union, or Cornell West, or Professor Wolf, or anybody else, anybody with any kind of, we need everybody to come, anybody who's willing to help get this information out and keep this from being disappeared from the news and people's minds. That's what we need, because we're doing the work to get the science done, but we need people who can get the word out about what's happening so that we can hold people accountable. Okay, well, we'll help you do that. Alex, Felix, for United for East Palestine, I appreciate you doing that. I appreciate you coming on, and let us know if you ever have an update and something you want to get the message out about. Let us know. We'll be there for you. Thanks, Tim. Really appreciate you. Okay, take care. Go to jimmydore.com to see my new stand-up special, COVID Lies Are Funny. For only $10, you get to become a premium member, too. And come see us do our live shows. We're going to be doing stand-up comedy in Milwaukee, Nashville, Honolulu, Los Angeles, Northampton, Massachusetts, Syracuse, New York, Cohoes, New York, Hartford, Connecticut, Baltimore, Maryland, and more. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all those tickets.